Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Codex After Dark. My name is Tim. This guy over here is Jamie. And down below, we have the coolest number one fan since number one fans were invented, and that is Tone Faulcon. Tone, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Good to
Right
be
on.
here.
It's
Thanks for joining
very
us,
awesome
buddy.
to have you here. Absolutely. So, Tone, real quick, tell everybody who you are, what you've done, and why you're here tonight.
Okay. Well, my name's Tone, as everybody knows. I tend to go by my friends and family, Tone Super. That should tell you I'm a lifelong comic book fan right there. And I'm just I was introduced to comics when I was young by my uncle, and he's a classic collector when he was still with us. And so I grew up reading classic Marvel, as in early Fantastic Four, early Silver Surfer, Submariner, really a lot of books. He liked horror books, so Werewolf Am I and things of that nature.
Like
and
Vault of Secrets and things like that. Yeah,
exactly. And so really corrupted my young, malleable brain.
That's
And
what comic books will do.
Yes.
and so I collected through as I could, moved around a lot, eventually joined the army. And I'm sure every comic collector knows the stories of collections found and lost, right? Destroyed, right? Lost. And so and then it's something that just never really left, regardless of what phase of my life I was in. I had my own podcast for a while, and just life and time, I had to push it to the side. And then I found an awesome group called Comic Character of the Day, and I tried to stay active in it. And that's where I met you fine gentlemen.
I wouldn't use the term fine, but
I would.
I appreciate. Well, Tim, I mean, you'd use any word in your vernacular, you're possibly good.
Buddy, I was around when words were invented, so
Yeah, they're just
all
made up.
words are mine.
Oh dear God! But yeah, Comic Character of the Day, guys. I can't talk about them enough. Actually, they just approved us for being on. So thanks, Kevin, if you can hear me. But no, that we've gotten so much out of there. I actually told a funny story to Kevin when I first started this. We were trying to post in there like, hey, you guys made the top 3 and topic of the week, blah, blah, blah. And it kept getting deleted. They kept deleting me every time I would post about the podcast. So I was just like topic of the week then. I kept doing that and then slowly started gradually talking to Kevin. And he's like, dude, go ahead. He goes, we love you guys. You guys always have good topics. Always, always pushing the envelope. You guys talk. It's not like you guys don't do anything. And then now go check out their group. We are running something with them. 80th subscriber gets $10 Comixology gift card. 100th gets a $25 Comixology gift card if you subscribe.
Absolutely.
Definitely go check it out. All you gotta do when you are the 80th or the 100th, just the most recent video, comment from Comic Character of the Day, and you're in.
Hey, and before we get started, guys, don't forget, if you are watching this live or if you're watching this later and you are not a subscriber of the Codex Station, that is definitely something you need to do right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
I'll
take
wait.
The notification bell out to a nice dinner. Bring it back and read some gentle, calming stories to it. And also hit that like button too. So that way you don't miss out on any content we have. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get Codex After Dark started. And I got a question for you guys. So
I don't know if I got answers.
Well, I hope you do. I was watching. We just finished the Tobey Maguire trilogy for Spider-Man last night.
If you make me rank them, you're not gonna like it.
No.
Okay.
But like it's different. Like when we were younger, when we watched those movies, I was talking to my brother-in-law about it, and he said that's all we had. We didn't have anything else. But my kids have been exposed to the MCU since they could watch television. Now we watched the Andrew Garfield 2 movies, and those are their favorites so far. And the Tobey Maguire movies, what we got started with, Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorites. In Breaking the Code, it was in my top 5.
Yes,
but with my kids, I mean, yeah, exactly. With my kids, the first Spider-Man movie is their least favorite out of the Tobey Maguire stuff, with number 2 being top and number 3 being number 2. So how do you guys feel about things like that? Like watching them now versus when they came out first? And Tone, since you're our guest tonight, why don't you go ahead and take that away?
Wow, great question. So something I always say to what I'm going to loosely identify as newer fans of the form is that because I've been loving these forms and properties for so long, I have a sense of perspective and legacy on it that they may not have. And someone will look at a movie nowadays. That's a great example is Iron Man 2. And they'll say, how do you like that movie? That movie's completely horrible, right?
I love Iron Man 2.
And I'll say, when graded by its modern peers, maybe it's mediocre. But if you look at the grand scope of where comic movies have come from and come through, it's outstanding, right? And if I said, and I'll give it, I'll kind of give that perspective to it. Like I had to sit through as a Marvel Comics fan, the first Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren, right? And I love it from a nostalgia view, but at no point of me did I ever say this is a great movie, right? It was what we had and what we accepted at that time because it's what we had, right?
Because he had the shaved skull in his.
I think it was the whole Dolph Lundgren struggling somewhat with English that kind of put me off of the movie. But I come back to it's what we had, so we accepted it at that time, right? And so the product is so much more developed nowadays. Today's kids, they don't have to just accept what's giving because it's exploding and they have so much choice. So
there's so much saturation with everything they have. And Jamie, you and I have talked about that before.
Oh,
they have quality animated features, quality Netflix, ongoing Netflix and television series, quality movies, right? And so many of today's youth have been exposed to comic forms without ever having picked up a comic book.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
And so I think that when it comes to a property like Iron Man, I should say Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Now, interesting, I rank them as in 2 is my favorite. And I think 2 is one of the best superhero movies ever created. And still one of the best Spider-Man movies ever created. I would rank them 2, 1, 3. Right.
Yeah, same as me. Absolutely.
But I could see 3 has a lot of moving components. It's really bombastic compared to the previous 2. And I could see that catching the attention of someone. It's more in line with what they're doing with movies now, with multiple characters and multiple angles being worked in multiple ways. I could see someone younger versus me where I tend to be I love the blast and the kind of the glitz on it, but at the same time, I like a lean story.
Let me ask you this then, Tone. Do you think that Spider-Man 3 was a trendsetter, but in all the wrong ways?
My inner critic makes me say Spider-Man 3 was a smoking crater. There's so little I find redeemable in the movie. With that being said, I could see some movie executives saying there's something to build on with the formula if the formula is better executed. I could see that discussion. But beyond that, it's hard for me to, a little bit of vomit here in the back of my throat when it comes to Spider-Man 3. And to be fair, to be completely fair, and maybe this is unfair, but I'm going to try to be fair. I think Spider-Man 3 left me hanging because I just didn't. You can't shoehorn Venom in Topher as Venom and do such a poor representation of such a critical Spider-Man character.
Yeah. Or then Gwen Stacy for that matter too.
Yes, exactly. And then package that into something as important as the relationship with Harry, right? What's happening with MJ? Like that's a lot of those are a lot of storylines and plots that could develop the entire movie line for movies on their own. And you smash them all and sprinkle Venom on the top. It felt very much to me like I was watching Batman and Robin, and the way they just kind of threw Bane in and didn't really develop Bane. He's like, he's an attack dog that Ivy keeps.
Oh, you mean it? You mean the super soldier serum that they used on him?
He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just
yeah. And
They
so
say it in there. What is it? What is this? Super soldier serum?
yeah.
It's like,
TM.
and
like,
so
I'm pretty sure that belongs somewhere else.
It's like Godzilla, but it's not.
They gave Topher that. Maybe they didn't give him enough room to run with it. Maybe it was executed exactly like they designed. But now it's not fair to compare that Venom to Bane, who had literally no speaking role.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I feel like the same mental approach took place. We're going to get this character in here, show him and throw some powers on him and show him mix it up with the hero. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm really harsh on Spider-Man 3, but I can see that formula being influential in today's movies.
We have a right to be harsh on it, though, because like, and Jamie, take it over after I give my point. But like, from my perspective, after watching it again, I hadn't watched it in, I think, 6 or 7 years. And watching it, you can see what Raimi wanted to do. And I think that was definitely the Sandman aspect. And there was a lot more that he wanted to do with that he couldn't do. And the conclusion of the triangle between Harry, Peter, and Mary Jane. But shoehorning Venom in there and throwing Gwen Stacy in there. Gwen Stacy served no purpose in the movie whatsoever. And if you took her out, it wouldn't have made any difference. And Venom, he was just, like you said, stamped on there, and you can tell where executives had the final say on what took place in that movie. And you can see how Sam Raimi would be upset and be like, I'm done after this.
And don't forget, they also found a way to jam Sandman in there also.
Yeah.
You know.
Jamie, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
It's my turn. I don't know. I thought that the best part of 3 was the fact that he got the symbiote suit. And that was the thing that drew me in even as a kid, was the fact symbiote suit means Venom. So that always holds that. I don't care how bad Topher Grace was as Venom. I don't care. It was you couldn't help yourself being like, this is the first live action Venom. No matter how bad it was, your interpretation was, we are getting Venom.
Woody Harrelson is Carnage.
Still, I mean, still better than Topher Grace. But I mean, when you look at it that aspect, and I agree totally with Tone on that too. You know, they had this trend-setting act. It kind of manipulated the way I think the MCU kind of guided itself.
Okay.
Later on, you know, you had these sub-story plots, and then they were supposed to come together when they were supposed to make 4, but it never happened. And it was the same thing with almost like the Amazing Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. We had all these little plots that were like
too much sub-story, not enough.
Yes, and then once they're like, we're making 3 of them. We never got 3, so we never understood. I wanted to see Paul Giamatti as Rhino. I'm sorry. Like,
I am in this big Rhino suit. Exactly. You like that? Yeah.
You gotta admit, that hurt my heart. That really
I know. I heard everybody. I think that hurt me worse than Venom. But
yeah. I'm in the theater. I think I like a heart attack.
But no,
the popcorn. No, it's not the salt of the popcorn. It's the Rhino.
It's the Rhino. But no, if this was like younger me, like had to grade them all, it would have been 2, 3, 1. But obviously, the realistic version of it is 2, 1, 3, as always. I mean,
oh yeah.
But just seeing the way like the suit took over Peter, he had that whole struggle. He had the emo hair phase where he's like dancing, going through everything. It was like, okay, I could see this happening. And then even the bell tower scene, like him ripping it off after slamming the bell, like as a kid, I'm like, holy, this is awesome.
That's right out of the pages.
Yeah, like this is perfect. And then Topher Grace comes and is like, a Venom. And it's like, no, you're not. Tom Hardy is 10 years later. Okay, well, calm it. Like,
okay, so let's take it in a different direction. Tone a little bit of what we were talking about in the or I think what we were talking about maybe off camera. Low budget comic book movies. Now, my personal opinion is the best low budget comic book movie ever made is the Fantastic Four's first movie. I think that is,
which you have on bootleg Blu-ray. I had to say that out loud.
I have 2 copies, ladies and gentlemen. I have 2. So that way, when somebody comes along and is like, I've never seen this. Oh, really? Here you go. Go ahead and watch that.
If I'm not mistaken, you are not talking about the Fox first Fantastic Four movie. You are talking about the first Fantastic Four movie, stretched to the scene.
Yes, the Roger Corman extravaganza. Absolutely, Mr. Death Race 2000 himself. I think that's the best on-screen representation of Doctor Doom that I have ever seen. And going into further, like with the Marvel stuff, the independent stuff, like you said, Tone, it was all we had. And the Punisher, even watching Dolph Lundgren and his their version of Microchip, the drunk Shakespeare poet, watching him and him fighting a version of what would be the Hand, I guess. But you go to Captain America. I mean, Captain America was something else, but Red Skull looked amazing.
Okay, why are we neglecting the fact that David Hasselhoff played Nick Fury? Like, we're going through everything else, but we're not talking about the Hoff wearing an eye patch
chopping wood.
Yeah, I will have you know, I said I spent a lot of time in Germany, and the Germans love David Hasselhoff, right? And over there, he's actually a singer, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, so all of David Hasselhoff's scenes tend to find their way on the German television, right? So the way I found that particular movie, and that was like, I'm flipping channels, and there's David Hasselhoff shirt off cutting wood. And I'm like,
that was the moment you knew.
What's this? Well, what's going on here? Right? But it's all in German. I can't understand it. Right?
Nick Fury.
But him being with no shirt on, chopping wood, you're like, I'm gonna keep this on for a few minutes longer.
And I said, hey, what's this? And my girlfriend's like, she said, I said, that's Michael Knight. What's Michael Knight doing on television? And she's like, that's Michael Knight. That's not Michael Knight. That's David Hasselhoff. She got really like huffy with me. Like,
she was offended.
It's like something going on here with you and the Hoff, right? And
the Hoff took over.
He's a good German man, right? And and I'm like, okay, I've got to find this. What is this on television right now? And so we sat there and watched it. And so, you know, in retrospect, looking back at those things,
they tried.
I think there's been a very important maturation that took place in Hollywood, and I think Blade to X-Men did this.
Thank you.
A lot of people like, oh, you know, the X-Men, the first, you know, Marvel movie. I'm like, oh, stop the press.
Nope.
It's actually Blade, right? From that gave to me Blade after the whole Batman debacle. Blade
Jamie, turn the volume up on your headphones so you can hear exactly what Tony
said. I'm listening. I'm fine with Blade. Okay, my problem is Blade, half of Blade 2 and all of Blade 3.
Him tattooing eyes on his eyelids doesn't mean anything. We're talking about the first Blade with.
No, I'm fine with the first Blade. That's what you seem to forget. It's every time you go, hey, after Blade 1, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't exist.
Blade 2 and Blade 3 do not exist.
No, they got blipped like the rest of them.
I believe that it was Blade, like after, you know, the Batman franchise really, you know, takes the nosedive. Mm-hmm. I don't think Hollywood wants to touch comic movies with a 10-foot pole for some time. But vampires become popular, right? And vampires put butts in the seat. And someone at New Line was smart enough to say, hey, Marvel's got this property called Blade, and we can make a great vampire movie out of this. And it's not advertised as a comic movie.
You had to look at the small lettering at the bottom of the screen during the rave in the bloodbath. Yeah.
And I feel like it was the success of Blade taken from a very serious context that gave the studios the how can you say, the courage to say, well, let's explore Spider-Man and let's explore these other properties. We have the X-Men. And what's key, the transition that you get is who are the movies for? And I believe that in our generation of comic movies, these Hollywood producers and writers believe they are making movies for kids, right? And I believe that Blade movie changed that. And these studios start saying, we want to make movies for adults that kids can also watch. Because if you look at the themes in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, they're very mature themes.
Like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Yes, exactly. The first Spider-Man movie. Yeah. And take the first X-Men movie. If you look at the cinematography of the first Spider-Man movie, it's really geared. It's bright colored like it's supposed to be.
Right.
There's some comic element to the way they shoot. There's a lightheartedness to the dialogue. And I think that's meant for the kids, right? But these serious themes that they struggle with, like Harry really being disappointed at his failure to impress his father.
Okay.
Norman's descent into madness, right?
Dude, and Willem Dafoe did an amazing job there.
Yes, absolutely. Those were meant for us as adults. And in that last scene, I personally believe that every great comic movie has to have a quintessential iconic scene for that character. Like if we go to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it's the elevator scene, right? Before we go, we get for Spider-Man, it's for me, it's that last scene with Willem Dafoe on the stab with the Hobbling.
Don't tell Harry.
Rider. Don't tell Harry, Peter. Don't tell Harry, and he dies. And the next time you see Peter, he's holding his body. The look back to Harry, right, with the torn Spider-Man. It resonated Spider-Man, and that was for me, for the adult me, right? And so I feel like the movies, as they've gone along, have done a great job balancing that. We're not just making this for kids. This is actually a movie that needs to attract kids and keep kids interested, but we want that adult second and third layer of cell there also.
Right.
And so that's the difference between the Punisher then, right, and what we get in a Marvel movie now.
Right.
And so that Punisher there, it meant to be campy. Like when they were making Batman movies in the 80s, in the 90s, they wanted to be campy. Schumacher said it, right? We wanted to be over the top. We wanted to be campy.
Want bad nipples.
Yep. We're trying to get today's kids' butts in the seat, right?
And pay for licensing and toys and video games and everything.
When you get to the Nolan Batman, that movie is not for kids. We're going to take a serious take.
That's for us.
Yep. And that audience has grown up, right? And so Marvel, on the other hand, looked at what Nolan did. Oh, dark. Let's see if we can kind of thread the needle between the middle here. I think we can make a serious movie with these characters while making it accessible to use. And Go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, I think that when they really got it right, or started to figure out the formula was at Thor. And then when Avengers came out, all of you remember the summer of the Avengers. By God, we had never seen a movie like that in history. And everybody had to go see that. And then from there, it was on. And they've left everybody in the dust ever since.
Agreed. Yeah. Spot dead on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of these movie seats and let's move on to something else. Let's see here. So I got a couple of books in the mail the other day. I just want to show them off real quick. Yeah. So
he's learning. He's showing them live on air instead of being like, "Hey guys."
Well,
I know show them, but I'll talk about them.
I know Sonny's in the chat too. Hi,
yeah.
Sonny. So something like I'm on the hunt for.
He can't be on the show, but he can be in the chat.
Something I'm on the hunt for is $20.99 Unlimited, the full 10 issue run. And I got 4 of them today. I had 3, so I got 4. Now I have 7. I'm only missing 3. But these are the issues that I got. I got issue number 1, which is the first full appearance of Hulk 2099.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got issue number 2. This is one I used to have when I was a kid.
What the shock?
What the shock? And I absolutely love this.
Oh, I just seen Tone just bring out a pile there. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Then I got $20.99 Unlimited number 8. And I think this is kind of roundabout where it's starting to fall apart.
Why does Cable have his arm?
That is not Cable.
I know. I'm sorry. It just looked like Cable.
That is the Public Enemy. And then this cover I really dig.
It's not.
Where's Flavor Flav? This one, issue number, what is this? Number 9? Yeah, this is number 9, excuse me. And I love that cover. Spider-Man 2099. He just looks absolutely fantastic
Yes.
there. Tone, what do you got there?
His life.
You can't see it pretty much, right? You can't really see it. Those were awesome pulls. Awesome.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that Marvel is really seems to be trying to make the 2099 work relevant again. And so
Yes.
I think it's only a matter of time before there's a push to try and get those back issues of 20.
Oh, it's going to be right after whatever was it? Spider-Verse 2.
Can I retire on these, you think? Well, maybe this one.
Retire is a strong
Darkhawk.
word.
You still need Darkhawk, or you're never going to retire.
No, I can't buy my own island without the almighty Darkhawk.
As someone shows Darkhawk as his first comic on there.
Wait, I just missed that. Do you have Darkhawk number 1?
No, I do not.
No, I know.
Same boat we are.
Yeah.
So you can't see it here to my right, but I have a wall, and that wall is loaded up with comics. And I've been changing them out, right? They've been up for a while, and I got different art things I want to throw up there. And I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera, but I was sorting through this stack.
You're good.
And so,
me and him are.
And so the things that let's see, I'm gonna move this just a little bit and see if I can give you a quick look at the wall, right?
Oh yeah.
That Wonder Woman poster looks amazing. That Cable statue, holy cow!
Oh yeah, that Cable statue is my baby. I think I just stared and looked at it like a gleeful idiot for like 4 days.
I saw X-Man number 1 up there.
Yeah. Well, giant size. Oh, you're talking about the actual the uncanny.
over on the wall. Wasn't that like right up above to the left of X-Force number 1, the $1 million comic you have in the center?
No.
Isn't that X-Man over to the left?
Oh, X-Man number 1. Yes.
Yeah. X-Man number 1.
X-Man number 1. Hey, you got great eyes.
All I saw was the lower half of it. I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah. I know exactly what's going on here.
And so I was I'm always taking them off and like, hey, what am I going to put up now? And what art is resonating with me, or what issue moved.
What's the flavor of the week?
And so you were showing covers. So a couple of the things I've picked up lately, and most of these are things that I don't know if they're still available at the recent comics. I don't know if you can see that well.
Oh yeah,
that looks great.
That's Inferno, right? Yep.
Yeah, that was the Emma Frost Inferno cover.
That's a wonderful Emma Frost cover.
Yeah, and it's for the Rihanna album cover. That's what it's imaging, it's mirroring. I've got a Mystique that was done by Art Germ.
I love anything Art Germ does. That is amazing.
The Art Germ freak over here.
Ooh. Yeah, he's bananas.
You trade for that?
You can't really see it. But up there, my favorite Art Germ is actually one of Impulse.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh, yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, he's running towards the camera. I mean, he's running towards the comic face. Mm-hmm. And it's just awesome.
Speaking of Impulse, my son had a birthday not too long ago, and one of the books I got him a trade of Mark Waid's Impulse run.
Great. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely great.
That's what I told him. I said, everybody thinks this is amazing, Ethan. You got to read this.
I think Mark Waid, every great comic character has had one writer take his hands, put it into the meat and potatoes of that character and shape it. And I think Waid did that with the Flash, because after Barry's death in Crisis, I think Flash was really uneven for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
They told Flash stories, but I think a lot of that is ho-hum and forgettable. Just about 10 years of them beating up on rogues with no endpoint.
On the top and Captain Cold.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And Mark Waid came along and did a lot of shaping and introduced characters like Impulse and Savitar. Really put Wally at the top of the pantheon and filling those shoes of Barry. Not just in the action. I think there was a Flash annual where Wally has his confrontation with Zoom. But the book meandered, in my opinion, after that until Waid eventually got it. And Waid just did amazing things. And Impulse is one of the legacy Waid characters that I utterly love. But
See,
yeah, I'll talk forever.
I think that like what you were talking about writers taking over characters and really reshaping them. When Wade went on Daredevil and did his run there where Superior Spider-Man came through, me and my brother Matt were reading that together, getting the same issues and stuff, and we were like, dude, are you reading what I'm? Yes, Matt, I'm reading the same thing. This is amazing. This is one of the greatest Daredevil runs I've ever read. And Wade did a fantastic job. And I'm reading Zdarsky's run right now. I think I'm on issue 29. I think like it's the
you only got 6 more than
the Fall Again storyline or whatever it is. That's where I'm at right now. And Zdarsky's run, my lord, that you cannot read it as an episodic piece. Like it is just a continuous story, and I am reeled right in.
Oh, I can't wait for him on Batman.
Yeah, I can't wait for him on Batman either. I think he's going to be outstanding. Zdarsky has blown my mind
time and time again.
And I just can't, from reading Sex Criminals,
yes,
right, which was so like over the top, hilarious.
And then what was it, Stillwater?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, dude.
But
yeah,
I just when I heard he was going to be coming to write Daredevil, I was like, how's that going to work? Hey, we're going to get a funny, over the top. And he, in one of my other groups, we've been talking about Daredevil now for several months, and I think Daredevil, because of the current climate in comics, there's so many people that I don't buy comics. I'm not into this. I'm not into that anymore. I don't like this. I think Daredevil has been the most consistently well-written character in Marvel. Like, every writer, I feel like they're reading what's been done and really saying, I don't want to do what they did, but I want to do something that adds value to this character. And Soul before Zdarsky, Wade before Soul, just it's all popped. And Wade, I just love all the work that's being done on Daredevil. It's been an amazing franchise for Marvel.
Now, Jamie, while I was reading the Zdarsky run, it was something that you and I had talked about before about continuity in comics and how you said that you wanted those little editor blurbs in there.
And it's nothing big on that aspect, but that does bring in.
But it's there though. Yeah. It's in the Zdarsky books, and every time I see that, I'm like, Jamie, that's for you, buddy. Yeah, I see that right there.
But it wasn't so much of a like I said, with continuity, like, yeah, it's cool to have Elseworld stories, but like we made the example, like New 52, all those books tied together.
Oh yeah.
Like, and no one realized that everything that's happening is intertwined with every book. Like, oh, they'll be like, where's Hal? Oh, he's off fighting, gods. And they'll be like, check out Godhead #1. And then it's like, okay, now we're flipping over to Godhead #1. Now we're in like the Third Army. And it's like, where's Batman fighting the Court of Owls? Go check out Batman Court of Owls. Like, there's so much going on. It's like, that was the only time that I felt like continuity mattered. And now it just, but no, I'm saying now, like with Zdarsky's run and Daredevil, like that's that's the only thing that's carrying on, bearing that torch.
Well, let me ask you guys this then. I'm very curious to hear your answers. Do you think that the New 52 was an attempt at a massive continuity run that just failed, or was it just not handled right? I mean, is it something that fans at that time versus fans now could handle?
I think so. I feel like it was an experiment that was meant to be good. It just was plundered. You got to figure almost every series was 52 issues. You had your 2 to 3 annuals included. You had the few, what was it? Now, because I'm thinking Future's End. There we go. But you had the Future's End, engraved in there at some point. Everybody had their own book. They had the villains. What was it? 23.1, 2, 3, and 4. Some of them had.
Convergence was the absolute end of New 52.
Yeah, and then Convergence was the end. But every book seemed to have, even if you read like Justice League, for example, if you go through that whole Justice League book, you know what every character is doing that's not at the table at that time. Exactly what everyone's doing.
Okay.
And you look at something like a Green Lantern, which Vendetti did an amazing job on. You look at something like a Batman. You get, oh, go check out Batman and Robin. Go check out Green Lantern for this, and it's in a Batman book. Like, you haven't seen that in years, since, like, I don't know, the 90s, when they just said, here, take this and run with it. Here's 200 issues.
See, and I think DC at this point in time is just all over the place. I don't
That's
think
why
they have anything
I called the
super
reboot.
consistent. Yeah. Tone, how do you feel about that?
I've been thinking about it. I feel that New 52, and this is going to be harsh, but it is how I feel.
No, it's fine.
It's had too many mediocre to poor books to be successful.
Yes.
And while Kant, I think they did do, especially when you lay it out like that, Jamie, I think they did do an excellent job of lining up continuity between the books, right?
Right.
Establishing
You
where
knew what was
characters
happening
were. Right.
at all times.
But I think that has to come secondary to a good story.
Yes.
And too many of the books just quickly started falling flat. I remember picking up The Fury of Firestorm. And
that hurt.
Yeah, and I was picking up the Dr. Fate run, and by the time I got to issue 13 and 14, I'm like, where are they going with this? They don't seem to have a path with this. And I felt there were too many books outside of the big books, right? New Superman was going to be handled well. And they even made some great shifts in Superman because people didn't like their original take on that Superman, and they said, well, let's modify this some. But you could tell that there was an effort to make that work, and there was an effort to make Batman work. I think Batman New 52 was just right.
Snyder and Capullo were tearing it up.
And then there's a couple books like that. You had Batman, which was it. Snyder and Capullo was amazing. You had Green Lantern. Then Deddy just came out of nowhere and just made this amazing run.
Yeah,
and took we're gonna make Hal basically a rogue here.
Yeah.
Okay, and just took off with it. What was it?
Well, do you think
he's not Batman and Robin? I'm hang on, Tomasi.
Yeah,
you got Tomasi on that book. Like even like you said, there was a couple that they missed. They swung for the fences and they struck out. But you gotta look at some of the other ones. You look at like Grayson, for example. You had Tim Seeley and then Tom King come on. This is on the verge of Tom King with Vision. And then busting out Mr. Miracle right afterwards. Like, you had good writers, you just didn't have to rush in with those good writers at that time.
And I also like to just throw in a little statement here at the end. I hate impugning the work, knowing understanding now a lot better than I used to what it takes to publish a monthly. Right. I hate impugning the work of any comic artist. Like, it's just crap. It's just, they might write some things that they think I've never heard of any comic writer writing something that they intentionally knew was going to be unsuccessful. Right.
They put their heart into it.
They all want it to be successful, even if it's not what they would want to do. They all want it to be successful. And so I hate impugning their work. I felt like New 52 had these gems that were and if you were on the gems, then man, you were getting some great reading in. But if you looked at the grand scope of what they were doing, it was kind of ho-hum. You want to know now that I think about it, what it reminds me of? When Marvel Secret Wars, the 2015 Secret Wars.
Okay. The Hickman stuff.
Yeah, and they did the main book was great, but I wanted more panels in every book. But the Battle World, some of the books were great. Some of the books were mediocre. Some of the books seemed like they were just cash grabs.
So that's exactly right. I've got a large portion of them sitting over here in like Weird World. Some of those that I read, I was like, what am I reading right now? What does this have to do with anything? But the Marvel Zombies versus Age of Ultron, that
fit right here in the box. Real World.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Why?
Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm like, and New 52 felt like that to me. Like, you've got some gems in here, but you've got these other things that are like, they're drag on the ship, man. And I think they started nipping them off.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about that a minute. What about some of the rough cuts or the deep cuts for New 52, like Resurrection Man or Grifter or even Hawkman and things like that? What
Savage
about those?
Hawkman.
Savage Hawkman, why were they not successful? Because like with Resurrection Man, that immediately pulled me in. This dude that is immortal, that cannot die, constantly gets revived, but every time he gets revived, and correct me if I'm wrong, he gets revived with a different power.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an amazing concept. And I think it went 6 to 12 issues and they were done.
That
Yeah.
one went, I believe it was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
no, like
why
you
did
look at
those
something like
books
that,
fail?
but too, like look at Talon. Talon was amazingly written. Talon was to me like pure gold. Like when we started talking about how he had like the dead skin formed under his heel that he keeps his lock pick or his pick so he could pick locks, but just like Houdini did, and he started giving like the exact information of how Houdini did stuff. Like I was like, okay, this is it. I'm in. Like I'm sold. And then it didn't last that long, but it gave a good example of what the talents were.
Yeah.
You
But-
look at
but-
and then you look at something like Grayson, where it came off the heels of Nightwing, and then Grayson turned out to just be this fantastic book
Yeah.
that no one thought was going to be good.
Yeah.
But what about putting like big name artists or writers on books that ultimately failed or only lasted a couple issues? And I hate to bring him up, but he's the perfect one to bring up and poke at with a stick. Rob Liefeld doing
And
work
Grifter.
for DC. Yeah. Didn't he do work on Hawkman too and Hawk and Dove and things like that? And it just absolutely did not pan
Well,
out.
Hawk and Dove wasn't, in my opinion, Hawk and Dove wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed Hawk and Dove a little bit because they had a lot of Dead Man in it, and you don't see a lot of Dead Man anymore. But Grifter was good up until, I don't know, like the last like 4 issues.
Okay.
And Grifter didn't last long as a print, but
No.
the way they had everything scheduled out, it was in phases. So like phase 1 was this chunk of books. Phase 2 was this chunk of books.
Right.
You knew what was coming out before even you could, basically put you in your solicitation. And I felt like that was a good start, like good idea. Like, hey, let's break these in phases. We're going to make 52 issues, keep it continuity, all that. But then you look at like the lower end guys, a lot of those lower end guys are like the higher ends now in DC.
Yeah. That's where they got their start.
They got a chance to shine there. Who would have thought the guy who wrote Grayson or co-wrote Grayson was going to have an 86 issue run on Batman?
Yeah. It's a great point.
You know what I mean? Who would have thought that, the guy that did Batman and Robin was going to have this amazing run on not just Detective, but what else did Tomasi do? I think he did All-Star as well. It was like
All-Star Batman?
Yeah, Batman and Robin, I think it was.
Okay.
All-Star Batman. No, it was All-Star Batman.
I thought that was Frank Miller and Jim Lee, and it never got finished.
No, it was All-Star Batman. Yeah, that was in Rebirth. But no,
never mind.
You got a lot
Bad
of
joke.
these guys that like, yeah. But you got that was horrible, by the way. I tried. That's why I like
Sorry.
avoiding it. That's Superman. We leave that to Frank Miller. If you guys haven't read that yet, go check it out. We don't recommend it.
Sideways thumbs, Jamie, or straight
No,
thumbs
just
down?
right down.
He gave him the old Commodus right there.
Yeah.
Thumbs down. I think there's something to be said though, that New 52, regardless of its unique merits, was affected by the greater environment. And I say there's its unique merits notwithstanding, definitely having an impact. I think, I don't know if the data would bear this out. I'm sure there's an executive at DC that could come out and, pimp slap me with data that say I'm wrong on this. But I feel like we had already started hitting event overload at that time, and people were getting over the DC crisis, right? We had what was it? Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis. There were several events back to back that led into now we're going to do New 52.
It was like they were putting a new multi-dangerous event out every 6 months.
And it was like what, 52, not 52 weeks. Countdown.
Yeah. And Countdown, which I couldn't get it all either. So I said, okay, I'll read the Countdown, and it's one book a week, right? And I couldn't get them all. And but boy, I feel like that rejection of another event also impacted New 52, with people going, I'm kind of over it right now.
Right.
But see, like where 52 was a self-contained 52-ish issue storyline, once it
I like
hit
how you
Countdown.
said ish.
Yeah, I can't talk today.
Like 52-ish.
But once it hit Countdown, then it started tying into a bunch of different stuff, and Countdown was just in addition to other things. And I think that's where Countdown failed, where 52 succeeded.
It shouldn't have failed. They had Red Hood. No book that has Red Hood in there should fail, and yet they did that. And Kyle Rayner. Sorry, Daryl. If you're watching,
Kyle,
I still love him.
My favorite GL has been.
He's just saying that because we had Banks on. He's like, I can't say anything bad about Kyle right now.
No, always been my favorite GL.
Yeah.
Since the day they introduced him. I never, as a fan, I never found how. I always loved the concept of GL.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought the fact that there were 2,794 of them was weird to me. And
I haven't become a Green Lantern yet.
Right. And so exactly right. And but with that, the restructuring, the big shakeup that DC did in the 90s. And it took one of the things I love about it. I say this about the Spider Clone saga at Marvel. I say this about the DC shakeups. It takes balls to shake up legacy characters, right? It's risk, but sometimes you got to take that risk to make things fresh again. Whether you love Superman becoming Electro Superman and then becoming Red or Blue Superman, right? Whether you loved it or whether you hated it, what you got to do was break from the norm, right? And when you came back to regular Superman 4 years later, or 3 years later, it was fresh. You wanted to read Clark again.
Because it gets stagnant after a while, and it's just the same thing.
That's something that I wanted to touch on too, that not a lot of people actually talk about. You think of that shakeup and you take away those legacy characters that you originally had. You bring in a Kyle, you bring in a Wally, then you bring in a Connor Hawk. You all these characters, they're like household names now.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you can't have a conversation about who's the best Flash without bringing up, Barry, but Wally. Barry, but Wally.
Exactly.
And then you go, okay, how about Hal? But now we got, okay, how about, Kyle? How about
see,
Simon? How about Jessica? How about Guy? How about John?
When those legacy characters were pulled, though, and the shakeups happened, what was the fan reaction to that? If I remember right, when Superman died, not only was it one of the greatest stories published at that time, but there was also a lot of backlash too for killing him off. When Batman's back got broken and Azrael took over, John Paul Valley, when he took over as Batman, people threw a fit.
And it goes back to what I said from the very first episode we ever done on this podcast. People want change until they get changed.
Until they get changed. Exactly.
And then they hate it. Like everybody, and sorry, Tim. No, but like everyone hated the Nightwing from Dick to Rick Grayson. I don't understand the hatred there. Like I can kind of see it, but it's like
you can't change his name.
You can't change. Oh, he got shot in the head and can't remember who he is. That's the stupidest thing ever. Really? You turned Superman.
It happened in Spider-Man 3, and you can have amnesia from getting hit in the head really hard and then get it back.
Yeah, it's possible, but like everyone was like so upset. I remember that panel where KGB shot Grayson in the back of the head, and I'm like,
messed me up.
I'm like, I was like, I didn't want to turn the page because I didn't want to know what happened next. I was like, okay, this is big. Like DC, what did you just do to me? And then one of my
favorite comics is Bruce Wayne going after Batman, going after.
Oh, and he just beats out of KG Beast and just leaves him. He's like, I thought you didn't kill people. He's like, I'm not, but I'm thinking about it. And he keeps just hitting him. And I'm like, Batman gonna kill KG Beast. Like, this is bad.
Exactly. Don't you want me to tell you this? No, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need you to tell me anything as you lay there with your broken neck in the snow.
Dude,
oh my God, I need to read this issue now.
Yeah.
That was the worst beating I think I've ever seen Batman give somebody ever in a comic, and I've read a lot.
Man,
obviously Tone has too, but my point being is like I've read a lot and I've never been able to get those two graphics out of my head.
It takes such nerve, such balls to shake up these legacy characters. Kyle, I never found Hal accessible. I found him a boring guy. And maybe for my uncle's generation, the test pilot, to me, he was very bland in character. He's a man without fear. Got it, right? He has no fear. He's fearless.
The only fear he has is being afraid.
Yeah, yellow. Test pilot stock. Got it. And green is countered by yellow. Got it. And so I thought the concept of the Green Lanterns was a very interesting concept, but it wasn't until it got shaken down and stripped to its bare bones by Ron Marz and Daryl. And like, wow. One of the things that's subtle that Daryl did that I thought was amazing, really, really small thing. He's the only artist of that time that got Kyle's mask right every frame.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And every other artist,
you read it, it's either too low or it's like right underneath here. And it's like, why does he look so off? Like,
go look at some of those early issues of JLA, right? And Kyle's mask looks like it's covering his face in one.
That's the one I brought up to Daryl when we had him on. I was like, one of the ones I remember is JLA Standoff. It was 128, I think it was issue, or 129. It's one of those two. I know that for sure. But it was Kyle standing there like face to face with Superman, and they like it wasn't even the ion part.
That was the ion. That was the ion power thing.
It was just turning later on. But no, in there, even like when they drew the panel, he basically just becomes normal Kyle when he's talking to Alan Scott, because he never fights Superman, which I'm still mad about. But he's talking to him, and when he like flies off, the thing is like up here. Like I'm like, why does he look like Tonto right now? Like this is not how it's supposed to be.
It's something as simple as a mask made it distinctive, right?
Yes. But that's sequential art for you, dude. Like if you can't get it right, then don't do it.
Yeah. And so Daryl knocked it out every issue, and Ron Marz wrote the hell out of that book.
Yes, he did.
And so he becomes, and even with the one of my favorite, even with the reemergence of Hal and Green Lantern Rebirth, right? Even that was now interesting when Hal comes back, and you just see Sinestro giving Kyle the beating of a lifetime, and Kyle's hanging in there, right? And I'm like, big up in my boy in the book. I'm like, oh my God, Kyle, hold on.
You're gonna do it. I promise. You got this.
The lines that he gives, there's one line that Ron Marz wrote, and he said, was it Ron Marz all that time? Or was it
it wasn't Winnick.
Yeah. What's it? Okay.
Was it Winnick?
Yeah, and he wrote Kyle writes staring into Sinestro's eyes is like staring into the sun. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of crazy. Like you can't look at him. It's kind of blinding. And so just the intensity of that book. And then when Hal finally wakes up, right, he says he feels something, his bones ache, right? There's a lot of this and a lot of that, but there's a lot of damn will, right? And I was like, I just got a little goosebumps just saying, because it impacted me so much. But to me, when you do the big change, right, you introduce something fresh and new, and it can simultaneously, it gives you ground to grow. And then you appreciate the legacy character when you bring them back, right?
Exactly.
And so even the stuff you made, the key point though, Cable is one of my all-time favorite characters. He makes my top 3. And for everything that Rob gets drugged for nowadays, right?
Young blood.
And there's a lot.
Rob contributions that Rob made are still functioning and making money, and money makers for Marvel.
See, and that's a point that you make that is very, very clear. And I saw somebody say something about like how horrible Rob Liefeld was, or no, it was using the
that was you.
No, not me. It was using the term legend.
We had a whole episode
loosely.
about it.
It was using the term legend loosely when it came to Liefeld. And somebody had said, well, he kind of deserves it because he's got some characters that are legacy characters. He created Cable, he created Deadpool, he created Domino.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on. So in that aspect, yes, he does deserve that. But I think we can all agree, though, that like what you were saying, Tone, he does get drugged through the mud a lot. And that is because his artwork is just so inconsistent. It's like with some of the stuff that he does, it is top tier stuff. Like what he did for the Virgin variants for King in Black when Deadpool on the cover, it's Deadpool fighting Venom, and then Deadpool fighting Venom Pool. No, this is one they did for Torpedo Comics. It was Torpedo Comics exclusive. Yeah. And then there's other pictures of Deadpool.
Well, no, the title is Deadpool versus Carnage.
Oh, yeah. But there's other things that he's done that is top tier stuff. But then there's some things that he did, like the Snake Eyes cover with the red suit, that look absolutely abysmal. And somebody had to approve that and say, Rob, that was a great job, man. We're going to put it on the cover. And it looks horrendous.
Yeah, but in your eyes, it might look horrendous. In someone else's eyes, it might look acceptable.
And that's very true.
Like,
that's very true.
It might be a different perspective, and that's what they were going with. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like Liefeld's work as much as the next person. I agree with the legacy characters. I mean, look at Major X. He's been doing great. He was in one panel, and everyone started freaking out. And then he's like, I'm going to come out with a monthly. And it didn't. But yeah, when it comes to certain things like that, like you guys, obviously credit's due. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Like there's some guys out there that should not deserve the credit that they have, but because of those legacy characters, yeah, they earn that spot. You know, like you touched on a good point, Tone. When we had, because if you guys, by the way, anyone out there, if you guys haven't got a chance, you can check out the one shots with Ron Mars and Daryl Banks and see the full live interview with Daryl Banks right here on the Kodak station. Had to plug that. But when you have, like, we asked him, like, how was the contribution between both of you, you know? And even Daryl said it's like nothing we could have ever expected. They just flowed. They had a good flow together, and we're still the same way today. They're working on a project right now. They can't really talk about it, but they're working on a project again. And it's got me all frazzled because I'm like, yes, please. But then you look at some other people, like he was like during the Winnick run, he's like, I was just tired, man. I was burnt out. I asked him about one of my favorite characters from that run, which was the villain Nero. You know what I'm talking about. Like it was like the quintessential Sinestro to Hal Jordan's Kyle.
Yes.
And I was like, yes. And that's why all my stuff's like Dark Nero. If you want to find me, that's where you find me. You know, Nero has been essential because that was my guy. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, I couldn't tell you. I was burnt out that time. Winnick just told me what to do and I did it. And I was like, I wish there was so much more to that. Like whatever happened to him.
Did you see I posted Nero as a comic character the day?
Yes.
I love the Nero character. And I really...
It was everybody's Moon Knight for DC.
You know, they did this thing that it's like when you look at what Marvel did after the Spider Clone saga, like we are trying to move as far away from this thing as we possibly can. Reverse it all, put it back. We will never speak of it again proper, right?
And everyone does.
And so DC, I felt like they did the same thing, right? And when they start re-implementing the legacy characters. But it's one thing to re-implement, but when you diminish the characters that were there, that's where I started having a problem with it. And like to see Nero was Sinestro level.
Yes.
And then suddenly he's just nobody cares about him. The next time you see Effigy is a I'm like, well, I'm talking about the writer. The next time you see Effigy, which I thought great Kyle villain, right? The next time you see Effigy, oh yeah, he's lost his mind. His mind.
We never saw Major Force again.
Yep, exactly. They drag him out every once in a blue moon in some one shot story or something.
But nothing that's gonna hold weight.
And you see that with a lot of the villains that they introduced in the mid to late 90s across all the books when they went through this big transitional period.
And Daryl even said there was a lot of that. There was a lot of darker, edgier characters that they introduced at that time that just didn't.
Like, does anyone remember that Aquaman had a kid and then Black Manta killed him?
No, I did not.
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Black Manta killed his child and like 12 other kids from Atlantis. Yeah, they were darker at that time. I forgot what run that was, but it was like the first time Aquaman had like 200 issues. Like, remember, all back then was like 180 issues. It was like Nightwing had 180, GL had 180, Green Arrow had like
that Aquaman run too. That Aquaman run was awesome, but that's one of the things that were lost to broken relationship and international move. So I was digging around. I just realized those books were missing like 2 or 3 years ago. Like,
and now you're like, I gotta get them.
Not those, no, right? Oh, there
just come on.
Right. So,
but yeah, there was darker times then, and it was just like those characters. But you don't really hear about it anymore, and it's just kind of unsettling because Kyle's had the run with New Guardians. He's had his run with within Blackest Night, even though he wasn't a quintessential main part of it. Yeah. He was still a main protagonist near the end. Yeah, and you don't. One of my favorite things, I told Daryl this, is the one thing that they use is the Alex swing. Like it was in Green Lantern Corps, right when Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, not to get that confused. But there was a part in it where Kyle just lost the White Lantern ring. And he's talking to all the Corps members, and this is when the yellow the Sinestro Corps joins them. And they're all talking about what they went through in life, and Crow's like, I saw my whole, planet die and blah, blah, blah. And another person's like, yeah, this person died, love of my life. And Kyle's like, I found mine in a fridge.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
No, I don't. And I don't want to speak of this. I know exactly where you're coming from. And you tried to pull that on Daryl, and I was about to hit you through Zoom.
We can dive deeper into that.
No, we can't. Because that was okay, Tone. I asked Daryl a question personally for me. I have it still saved.
I'm witness. I was there.
This guy wants me to post it and be like, you should post that question. I was
Share
like, no,
it with the world.
That was personal. There's a reason it was personal. But my point being is, like, he's like, he's like, I found my girlfriend in a fridge. And I'm like, that is the one thing that holds weight still. Like, he was so depressed when he said it. And then like someone turns, they're like, what'd you just say? He's like, long story. I don't want to talk about it. Like,
wow.
And I felt it. Like, you just feel that moment. You're like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, wow. 180 issues later. And then top of that, like 7 years. Like,
all right, gentlemen.
I'm sitting there like, oh my God.
All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and shore this up with one final thought. What are you guys looking forward to through the rest of the year, comic book wise? What's on your radar? Ooh. Jamie, go ahead and take that first.
Well, Carnage starts, or has already started, or isn't it? It's coming. I'm looking forward definitely to Zdarsky's run on Batman, because that's not going to be something where it's going to be an arc and he's gone, just like Williamson is right now. Definitely looking forward to the rest of Saga. Like it, dude, it's like they didn't miss a beat. 3 year hiatus already, and it's like it felt like just yesterday. And they're writing like it was just yesterday. I don't know, man. Like there's so much coming out, so many good movies. Like I can't wait. Like it's just making every part of me more and more of a fan every day.
Right on.
But I can't wait also for people to start looking at our TikTok now and our shorts and everything else that we're doing, because Jamie's wise brain went, let's make more work for me.
Yes.
And that's what I did. So you guys can find us on our new TikTok and see our recommended readings, which, when you saw us earlier, go like this, or this. That's how we're grading them.
So, Tone, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year?
No particular comic. I think everyone's looking forward to Zdarsky's run on Batman. That's kind of my high water mark for what I'm expecting for this year, comic wise. There are a couple of things that are going on at Image. I kind of dabble a lot. I read a lot more Image nowadays. I love their approach. A writer can get in, tell a short story, and get out.
Yes.
But I'm really hoping that this year DC. My hope for DC is that they diverge out of Batman into their other properties. We've been so Batman heavy the past 3 years.
12 issues already currently running on just Batman alone.
Yeah. And I love to see them move. I'm hoping that throughout this year, they move back more towards a state of balance, because I think some great legacy characters are not getting the attention they deserve, which
I need a good Carter Hall book. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. I was hurt when the last Carter Hall book was canceled.
And that was Vendetti too.
And so I hope to see that across the year. That's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on. From Marvel, I just want to keep catching the low end gems. I'll probably avoid the big crossovers in Marvel this year. But the Black Cat was a great gem.
Oh my God, that was a sleeper. If no one's read that, and I only got that because of King in Black.
Yep. Jed McCade wrote the hell out of that book.
And he's doing great with Moon Knight too.
And he's growing. And same thing with Moon Knight right now. And so that's what I'm looking for in comics. Just I like to see continued good writing in these, not the big tier characters, the second tier characters in Marvel being made main tier and being made notable. And I hope DC diverges. Comic wise, I'm just really, really looking forward to Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange.
Isn't everybody, because everyone's in it? Like, I think I got a part and I don't know it.
If I want to see how they approach the multiversal Fox and Sony universes and make them somehow cohesive with the Marvel universe.
Right on. As far as me, I'm finishing up the Zdarsky run on Daredevil. I know he's coming back to do more after Devil's Reign. Yeah. So I am super excited about that. Like the rest of you guys, I am excited about Zdarsky going on Batman. I think I'm more excited about it now. I want to see the end of Dark Knights of Steel. Jamie has been alluding to something going in. My
comic guy gave me some info
or going on with it, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that. Dark Ages, I can't wait for the last issue to come out. That has been magic in a bottle for 5 issues.
A 6-issue run, making you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah,
hard to do.
And I think it goes in line tone with what you said. All the best stories right now are What Ifs and Elseworld stories, and I think those are amazing. And I'm going to continue to read those. I think I'm going to push a little harder, reading more Image and jumping over to more Dark Horse. Boom is already.
Boom has been red hot. Yeah,
we've been saying that since last year. Jamie and I. Yeah. Boom is on a.
We kind of technically work for him too, so
but
we're obligated.
They're putting out hit after hit after
yes, they are.
Oh no, and it is like, dude, if you did not read that Mighty Morphin or Power Rangers run, dude, you are missing out, bro.
Maw was amazing.
Maw was great. Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer.
Killing the children.
Yes.
House of Slaughter is even good.
Yes. Something to Kill the Children, House of Slaughter, Once in Future.
Yes, Once in Future. Dude, it's just they are I keep saying they're like in a renaissance, and it's it's just this resurgence of independent comics. Yeah. And I find myself collecting more independent now, or about even keel with like the big two.
Well, and that one independent that I read that I did a recommended reading for on TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, the Codex Station, Nottingham, Volume 1, and they're putting out more issues later this year. So that is something that I'm going to be knee deep in. Tone, if you haven't read Nottingham, if you like Robin Hood stories or mythology, the mythos, anything like that, dive into that, buddy. It is absolutely mind-blowing.
I'll put it on the check it out list.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Well, all right, guys, before we get out of here, Tone, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are, where you come from, and if we're going to see you again.
Well, I can always be found in the Facebook group. I'm just Facebook guy, so look up Tone Faulcon and shoot me a friend invite. I don't have any property or media content I'm just an aficionado, a fan, just like you are, and happy to be here, happy to talk. You can find me in Comic Character of the Day, where I just try to chop it up with the group and be positive, non-toxic, and have a good time loving these characters in these universes. And so that's it for me. Thank you guys for having me tonight.
Thank you for being on here.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Yeah. Jamie, go ahead, buddy.
No, it's good. I was saying, yeah, I was agreeing.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, Jamie, is there anything else you got to say?
Yeah, as usual, guys, be kind to one another. You guys have no idea how much I can mean to somebody in that day, especially if they're not reading comics, because that was my gateway. Always check out the new TikTok, exactly like we said earlier. I'm adding more work on my load for you guys to enjoy. So go check that out. I don't sleep enough as this. So definitely go check that out. Go see our recommended readings. Go check us out on all of our other socials. Be kind to one another, like I said, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, like Jamie said, you can find us on all the social medias. That is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right here on YouTube, over there on Twitch, on Spotify, where podcasts are streamed. We got a shiny new Discord for you. And we also are now on TikTok. All you have to do is type in the Codex Station, and there we are. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Codex After Dark. My name is Tim. This wonderful guy over here is Jamie. And down below is the #1 fan since #1 fans, Tone Faulcon. You guys have a good one.